All right, thank you. Appreciate you guys being here. Obviously, I'm still happy about the win from Saturday. I thought it showed lots of improvement in a lot of areas. Got a lot of guys to play. I think one of my main takeaways with the team is, it's hard to get shutouts because, if you're a decent human as a head coach, you want to put the 2s and the 3s in and 4s, and the guys who've worked hard. And, so sometimes those guys go in there and they're just not quite as prepared. And I was really, really pleased with the level of play from our second, third, and fourth team players. Those guys made plays. Those guys knew what to do, saved 1 or 2 plays. We executed at a high level, and the standard didn't drop, which hopefully gives those guys confidence that, they continue to play. I thought, one thing about Akron, they did not give up. They did not acquiesce the game. They didn't take their starters out. They played their guys to get better for their season in the MAC, and so our guys had a chance to play against starting caliber players, and so got a chance to see a lot of our players on offense, defense, and special teams get on tape. So happy that they were able to maintain the shutout, continue to score on offense, and you saw flashes of some of the players that we've been talking about. So turn our attention now to Houston Christian. 1-1, excellent defense. Ranked, they've only allowed 1 third down conversion the entire year. Ranked in the top 5 in several defensive categories, and obviously be a real challenge for us. They ran for 400 some yards the first game, and they just fumbled, had a couple of key fumbles last week. I think they had lost 4. Otherwise, they might have come out on top against Eastern Kentucky, which is a perennial FCS power. So I look forward to a great week of practice, and let's see what questions you have.
Year to year, especially as they're sort of progressing as a program.
Yeah, we have a relationship with the guys at Houston Christian. We went down and ran a camp there, and obviously Coach Bechtel had come in as the OC, and now he is the head coach. Defensive staff all came over from Hardin-Simmons, which if Division III football in the state of Texas, no one does it better than those programs, and so they know how to coach football, and so they've got excellent players. They've got some guys, FBS Power 5 guys who've transferred back. Really, really active on defense. They're going to challenge you with different looks. They're not going to come out there and just let you line up. You're going to have to get in the right play because they show you different pictures. Offensively, I like what they do. They can both run the football, and they have athletes on the outside. They have an excellent offensive line. Coach Bechtel was at Argyle when Riley Van Poppel was there. So they have that correct, Susan? Yeah, Susan knows everybody. So there's a lot of ties and history here, but I think they're doing an excellent job. When you're FCS in the state of Texas, there's a lot of high school football players, and then there's a lot of guys who maybe go off somewhere and want to transfer back, and they have good facilities. It's a great university, and so they're doing a nice job there.
There were a couple times Saturday where Turner Corcoran got in as an extra lineman on some of those jumbo packages. Just what did you like about Turner to get him in those opportunities?
Yeah, he played at left tackle, and then we wanted to try to use some jumbo 12, a big tight end in there along with Luke, so that we could try to take advantage of the edge, try to run some of our duo plays and we had some other plays we didn't get to. But I think that's, one of the benefits of Turner. He's so smart. He can be ready to play left tackle and play tight end and have it not affect him. So, he's a prime candidate for that. We have a couple other guys who I know could do it, but, as Turner's working back into getting healthy, it just seemed like a perfect fit for him.
Coach, how pleased are you with this your punt return game? You lead the Big Ten right now in attempted punt returns, and just what you've been able to get out of that over 2 weeks.
Yeah, the first week we weren't super happy just because, we didn't do a great job stopping their Cincinnati's gunners. And so they got down there, so, Jacory got hurt on the one, right? And so now I thought Jacory did a nice job of making guys miss, and that was one of the missed opportunities. We had one play where, we had a missed assignment, and, we teach the guys if you get beat to cut bait, and Jacory made the guys miss. Might have had an explosive one in the first game, but we just didn't quite execute it. So going back to this game, we knew, I instructed the offensive line, the defense, the offensive line and the defense, hey, when we have a punt return, you all should stand up, because we had a plan to, double the gunners and, force big returns. They had 3 offensive linemen out there and a punter who wasn't super, runner, so we weren't really afraid of the fake. So now you can go to doubling the gunners. The minute you do that, you lighten the box. There's a chance of someone faking it. And we felt like we were going to have some opportunities, and we just have a special guy back there in Ja'Cory. And we have, there's I don't know what you guys have been covering. Has anybody posted the one punt return? Has anybody posted the one punt return where they literally take both outside guys and drive them off the field, into the I guess it'd be the south end zone. Like we literally both guys backed up. We take the guys do such a nice job. And Derek Branch, he served as captain last week. He ran a guy at Cincinnati off the field on punt return, and then continued to do a great job again this week. Kamir Prescott, Rex Guthrie. We got a bunch of guys out there that are really competing and playing hard. So I think anytime you can neutralize their outside people getting down the field, you have a chance at big returns. And so it was good to see. With that being said, we'll have to continue to improve. But it was good to have those yards, and especially when we told them ahead of time, hey, you're going to have chances on this. Be ready, and the guys were ready. I'm really happy with the way they executed.
Going back to blocking, Heinrich Harvard had a big block on EJ's first touchdown run. Have you just seen him get more confident with that part of the tight end stuff now that he's getting those in-game reps?
Yeah, I mean everything for Heinrich's new, and he's working really, really hard at it. And really a challenge. Even in the pregame, I think I said something like, "Hey, that first time you get that slice block, that's a hard block. You got to run across the line of scrimmage." A lot of people cut that. We don't teach to cut it. We stay high, and so that's a hard block to make, right? You got Waneri or Lenhart or someone like that on the other side trying to run through your face. And I thought he did an excellent job. Took one more step, same foot, same shoulder, dominant contact, tremendous effort, ran his feet afterwards. So I thought Heinrich really made a huge step for himself, not just that play, but the whole week, and should really be building confidence in his new role.
I know that you guys really value Lindenmeyer from pretty much the time you got here. It does feel like as a pass catcher, it kind of took off when Holgorsen got here. How have you seen Luke develop as a threat in the passing game in the last 5 games?
Yeah, I mean, Luke. Well, I mean, he's gonna. I think the number one thing is he's always gonna be where he's supposed to be, and a lot of things we do are not just like you run this route, but like, he made the one-handed catch early on in that game, and that's one where, like, you run 5 yards, you sit it down, you hook in. If you get matched, you break out, and you have a quarterback in Dylan who he sees the defense. Like a lot of people just see the offense, he sees the defense. So the minute he sees a guy match, he's expecting the guy to break out. And so we've had times in the first couple of years, that's a play. That's not a Holgorsen play. It's not a Sat play. That's a day one play. You know what I'm saying? And so there's been times where he's expecting the guy to break out and he's not. And then, it's just hard to play quarterback that way if you play with anticipation. So Luke's somebody who's always going to do those things. He's got great body control. He catches the ball. I think the one thing I want to make sure I say, and I'm saying this for the players, but sometimes, like whether it's Emmett or Luke, we characterize it as like once they got their chance. But some guys have to get better. Like over the course of time, they get better in our program. And like I made the point to our guys, like a lot of guys in the white, which is like our third team, our practice squad, we call it, like an NFL team. Ashton Murphy gets in there and gets a sack, and he looked really good doing it. A lot of those guys did really good things in the game, and I try to tell them, like, it's because of the way we practice. You're practicing against the starters every day. Like, you're pass rushing against really good players. So when you get in the game, you should make plays. And so, to me, Luke is an example of someone who has continued to also improve. Now, you are correct. He had to get those opportunities, and I think, one thing about Dana, because he always talks about routine plays and guys who can execute the plays, that guys who do that at a really high level, they get the first nod, and then as they get an opportunity, they start to make a ton of plays. And so I'm really pleased with Luke. But Luke's done a great job also. Like when we got here, he had some concussions. He was kind of, is he a fullback? Is he this? And I think he's just done such a good job of developing his body, developing his neck strength, cutting down his body fat. And, I think a lot of his personal discipline in his life, whether it be his faith or obviously his relationship, translates over into the things that you eat, the things that you drink, the amount you sleep, and that then leads to your body getting faster, trimmer. And so he's, to me, a guy that's building his speed. He's just getting better and better and better and better. And so I think the same thing about Emmett. I always make sure when I go back, if what did I not see? What did I see? Like, I think I said earlier, hey, he had a tremendous camp, come out of camp, because you could see Emmett starting to really become a downhill one-cut runner as opposed to everything being like a drastic cutback, which, that works against some people, but some people it doesn't. So his runs, I love them because they were inside zones where he got into the line of scrimmage, he pressed it, he kept the ball front side, he cut back late, and then he just trusted his speed. One time to the left sideline, one time right down the middle of the field. And even though they eventually got him down, you get more yards as opposed to jump cutting it, 10 yards down the field. So I love the way Emmett's developing. I love the way Luke's developing. I think a big part of that's the way they develop their bodies, though, too. And, our guys sometimes, they got Kristen on them, about, hey, you're 2 pounds under your body weight. And it's like, why? Well, the proof's in the pudding, like it helps you play better as you get older. So really pleased with Luke, though, really pleased.
After reviewing the film, just what did you think of the way the offensive line played in opening up gaps in the run game?
I thought they did. I thought we should have had more yards rushing. We ran duo once or twice and got the ball at the front side and got tackled by the safety. That's when we should make the guy miss. I thought the offensive line played really well.
Coach, you guys in this tent for the first time in 25 years. How does that feel as a coaching staff to know that your Archie is not on the field? I
got some emails about angry people that we didn't punt on the last play of the game. So, that's what I love about Archie, though. Even his family was in the facility, I think on Thursday or Friday. And they were like, hopefully we don't see him play. Now they saw him in Kansas City. They're here for several weeks. But, Archie's a football player. He played footy, so he's competitive. He wants to do different things besides just punt. He wants to, hey, give me a fake, coach. He's a baller, and he's a team guy. So, but I don't get too high about the highs. Like that was a game that got away from Akron. We certainly didn't want to in any way embarrass them, and I thought they continued to play hard. So whether it's 34-0 or 68-0, at the end of the day, I just was happy to get the young guys in, but we'll have to get better moving forward. We'll face some different opponents.
Yeah, Matt, what is the next step for this team, especially knowing that this is the last non-conference play kicks in?
Yeah, just having a great today. Today's their off day, but even though they have to come over, they have to eat meals. Watching the tape. We'll know a lot about our team tomorrow if they show up and if they know everything about the guy they're playing against, if they know the base fronts, if they know the top runs. The reason why we have a process, and process isn't the schedule, but the reason why we have a process we believe in is so that there's standards that keep you locked in. If you're not matching the standard, then there's warning signs. As I said last week, I thought we lost the Illinois game starting the week before, just in terms of that's what we were supposed to do at halftime. Last game we were supposed to win by that much. What I was pleased at, I went after them at halftime. I freaking lost it in the locker room. I was pissed that that we let them drive the ball down right before the half and almost make a field goal. Like, where's the killer instinct, right? That's my that's why I bring up the thing about Archie. Like, I don't want to be a joke. I don't want us to be I want us to be a football place, right? Football teams, you put away the people you're supposed to put away. You don't let them have life. So I wasn't happy before the half, right? And then, when we went to take a knee and they cut us, which I have no issue with what they did. That's something you do at the end of games. They just, their kids are trained to do that. I went after our O-line. Like, they don't fear you. Like, teams are supposed to come in and they're supposed to say, like, I never want to. They're supposed to walk up to their AD and be like, don't schedule them again. That's the mentality we're supposed to have. And that's where I went off in the locker room, the coaches and players. And it's not that I have it and they don't. I just want to make sure that's my job, right? It's not Matt Rhule. It's the head coach at Nebraska. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to you play these teams. They want to come here. They want to play here. They're supposed to never want to play here again. And so that was what I was pleased about in the second half. That I thought we didn't let up. We went down and we scored again. Like, I wanted to take the ones out, and like Dana wanted to keep the ones in. The ones all wanted to stay in, so we let them have another drive. And they went down and scored again. So, and the defense continued to play, good football. So, that we're facing a good football team this week. Just because a team's in the FCS or just because a team's in a Group 4 does not mean they're not a good football team, right? Like, when I was at Temple, I would always say, like, I'd rather play a team from Group of 4, Group of 5 at the time, whatever it is called now, that doesn't win than play Villanova. I hated playing Villanova because every kid at Villanova is a winner because they win all the time. So teams that win know how to win. Teams that don't win, bad teams do bad things. And so, I want us to be a good team this week, and it starts with how we act this week in practice. It started last night. I was very pleased with our day yesterday, our attention to detail, showing up, being locked in, taking responsibility for the things that were good, taking responsibility for the things that have to improve. And so That's our plan.
Do you change anything with 11 a.m. this week? Just would say energy can be hard to come by that early just to kind of get your guys.
Not our fans. Our fans are going to show up at Legacy Walk. They're going to be like they were last week, and they're going to show up to the game, and they're going to be amazing. Because I mean, I'm just telling you, man. Like I sat there with the recruits, and I was like, all right, listen, you're gonna. Where'd you go last week? I went to here. I went to here in the. Okay, look up there at the student section. Was it like that an hour before the game? Like, look at it. Look at it. At the end of the game, I'm like looking at people. I'm like, look how many people are still here at the game. It's just unreal. So I bet you we'll be pretty good. That being said, 11 o'clock for us. Now, we practice in the mornings. You know, I took a chance at Cincinnati. I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure it was the right move by me. I practiced that night that week, and that can kind of wear you out. So last week, the guys were kind of like still kind of, man, what's the schedule? We got into our schedule, and we made one change at the end of our week. Kristen Coggin has been suggesting this for 2 years to come in later on Fridays, and we did it. And the guys were unbelievably fresh, you know. And so I say, Kristen, if you know, I trust Kristen with my life. That's how good she is. And she said, I'm telling you, it'll help us. And so we made that global change, but that won't affect practice. So I think for us, like, you know, the guys are in the building on Tuesdays and Wednesdays at like, I mean, I walk in, I come walking in down like by the weight room at like 5:45, 6 o'clock. And there's guys walking in, hey, what's up, coach? So, I mean, we're kind of an early morning organization. So the early morning games for us are hopefully something that we should be locked in for. But I think the one thing we'll see this week is like, I mean, literally, and I don't know this all the time, but hearing, talking to Corey, how many guys don't understand like the schedule because they're so new. There's however many new players. And so, like Gabe Moore, he's on the trip, and Corey was saying, you know, Will on air, he's telling him, like, no, make sure you don't go upstairs now. We're going to do this next. And so it's just travel and first time at the home, first time away. There's a lot to it. So this week I think they'll be a little more settled. It's like, okay, this is what we do. I understand the schedule now. We walk through it in preseason, but until you actually do it, you know, it's hard. But I don't change anything else other than just trusting that the morning preparation will be good for us. And I think, like I said, I think our student section, our fans, a lot of places in the country, you don't get that at 11 o'clock in the morning, but I think we will.
You mentioned last week the UNI performance kind of leading to that Illinois loss in terms of respecting opponents. I know there was that halftime adjustment, but did you notice a marked improvement in that, in, you know, having that faceless opponent mentality?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I want to make sure I say it again because I said it earlier. So I think that the UNI game, because we were coming off the high of Colorado, and then we went to play UNI, we started the disease of looking at the brand that we're playing at instead of making this man versus man, right? When you have the mindset that I talked about, where like when I play you, I respect you, okay, but I have no fear of you. I respect without fear. I play a nameless, faceless opponent, and you choose to line up against me, I'm going to play you till you quit or I quit. That's a mindset that like isn't super popular as much anymore because I can play 52 bad plays, have one good play, and post that and get 1,000 likes and be like, hey, look at me, you know. So it's just trying to build a culture where everyone's like, Instagram stuff is great, the content's great, but what does the actual film say? So I think like that, you know, that was our season last year. That's year 2 for me sometimes. It's like, hey, we played Ohio State like this, then we come back the next week and we kind of play like this, and then we play like this, and then, you know, well, what's the atmosphere like? How's the music? None of that matters. You know, it's just football. And so I thought we were focused the whole game. I did not like the last drive. And as much as anything, it wasn't even, it's just for them understanding, like, you're not playing to score more points than the other team. There's a standard that we want to play at. And if the other team with 46 seconds left is dropping back and throwing the ball, they don't respect you. They don't respect your pass rush. They should take a knee and go into the half and try to regroup, but that's not what they did. And so you should take that personally. When they take the ball and they defer to start the game, when they win the toss and defer, that means they think it's going to be a game in the second half, which I think is the right way to play, by the way. But like these are things as a player, like if you have to have an edge to yourself. And so if the edge only comes from like, well, we're playing a ranked team, then that's the disease of average. Like you have to find an edge every single week because there's a man lined up against you that thinks he can beat you, and so you have to beat him. And at the end of the game, he's either going to shake your hand and say, "I can play at your level. I'm good enough to play at Nebraska," or he's going to shake your hand and put his eyes down and be like, "Hey, good luck the rest of the way and get ready for his season." And so that's the mindset we're trying to get across to our guys. We've been trying to get that across since year 1. But we're also trying to tell them, like, hey, you also have to go to class during the season. Like, what? I have to go to class too? Yeah, you have to go to class too. So, like, there's like steps to this thing. And so I think now we're at this step, like, we're looking for competitive greatness. Preparation leads to poise and confidence, which leads to competitive greatness. And even though the situation, like, you know, you get in the game and you're up by 60 points, is that competitive greatness? Well, for some of our guys, yeah. It was their chance to play. And you know what? Ashton Murphy ripped through and got a sack. I mean, he can't control when he gets in the game, but he can certainly control what he does when he gets in there. And so that's what we're looking for this week. And so if we go out there this week, or we go out there at practice this week, and we think we're a good team, and we start listening to that disease, just like I tell them, don't listen to the noise when everybody's saying, you guys can't do this, you can't do that. Also don't listen when they say you can do this. This is just the film. What does the film say? And so I'd like to see good film tomorrow's practice. And if I don't, then we'll try to get it for Wednesday. And hopefully by Saturday we're locked in and ready to go. But with the guys we have, they've been through a lot. I think they'll be ready. Marquise Buford, some of the things he said after the game were really, made a lot of sense to me. And so I think they're recognizing some of them are doing things that they've never done before. I mean, they've never beaten someone 68-0 before. And so why? Why are you doing that? Because you have a Nebraska. We had a Nebraska on when you lost to Georgia Southern. You had a lot of people in the stadium when you lost to whomever. When we beat La Tech a couple years ago and it was a close game, you had the same stuff on. So it's not that. It's how you prepare, how you practice, and how you play. And so we'll just keep trying to bring it back to that message.
You're a coach that's had a lot of true freshman quarterbacks start and play, so obviously that's not TJ's story, but how'd you feel like he stacked up as a true freshman in that first play?
I mean, I'll never forget, putting Charlie Brewer in. We were getting our, I can't use the word, but you know what kicked. And it was against Oklahoma State, and we were like, Charlie, all right, that's back when if you played him, I got fried for putting him in the game because you burned your red shirt, right? So Charlie, go in the game, and literally I remember him putting his helmet on, and he looks at Garrett McGuire, and he's like, well, I'm never coming out, and went running in the game. Now, he was out 3 series later, but that's the confidence he had. I'll never forget PJ. We put when we lost that game I talked about, that Fordham game, we were trying to get something going. We put him in and hit a guy wide open. He threw a beautiful, just overthrew him. He catches that ball. If the guy catches that ball, we probably don't lose that game. And PJ's probably the starter. It took me another 3 games. Well, TJ's not in that same situation, but I thought he exhibited the same confidence and the same I'm going to go do what I do, and at the same time still operated the offense. It wasn't like he was out there running around. He threw the ball on time. He missed the one sail route a little high. He made the right reads. He put the ball in guys' hands. He ran the football. He didn't reach the ball across the goal line. Just all these little details that you're looking for your quarterback to make good decisions, to protect the football and move the offense. I thought TJ showed all those things, and he just didn't look like a freshman to me. He just didn't look like, even the first snap was a little bit high, and he caught the ball and just kept playing. So I think, my thing with TJ is always hey, when we need you, you're going to have to be ready. And I thought that was real signs of life for him in terms of he's going to be ready. But he's had good practices. That's why he's been elevated up into that role. And then we're lucky to have a guy like Jalen here, Gramstad, who, can operate everything and can play at a high level too. And then Marcos just gets better and better and better. So we have a really, really healthy quarterback room. TJ was very pleasant to see.
Is some of that he played at a high school level. So did Dylan. So did your 26 recruit. Is there a value in playing a really high level of high school ball that trickles up once you get to college?
Well, I'll say this. So I always believe when we look at recruits, I never penalize a guy for playing at a small level, because they're not in control of where they play. And if you're a great player, you're a great player. But I do think when you see guys playing really well in a high level, then you're like, okay, he'll probably be ready. I think the other part of it is just sometimes if they've played at a school that, if they're in Texas and they have athletic period, or if they're at a place where they have spring ball, they're just a little bit more developed. So it doesn't mean they might not be better in the long run. It just might mean early on they're a little bit more ready to play. And then the final thing is I'm one of those guys who I can get seduced by talent very easily sometimes, and I have to be very disciplined not to, and especially at the quarterback position where you're looking at their arm and their mechanics, and you do the Elite 11, which I think is great, and all these different things are great, but the guy drops back, he reacts to a guy going here, guy comes in, he rolls out, quarterback pro days, but it's really about which quarterback can play. Show me their game tape. Which quarterback can play? You mentioned the freshman quarterbacks I have. PJ 5'10.5", 5'11". He's still playing in Canada because he was 6'2". I believe he'd be an NFL starting quarterback still. Charlie was 5'11", right? That's why he didn't have 50 offers, but he was at his best when he was with us. He was one of the best players in the Big 12, and so it's not to me about all the other things the height, the weight, the speed, the arm motion. It's who gets the ball to the right guy, who makes the right decision, who's fearless, and I think you have to watch guys' game tape. And so TJ, we watched him throw, and we loved all those things about him. But I think when you watched him play, you were like, man, this guy's a good player. making sure that, the guys that have played for us, we watch them play, and then the guys who we have committed, because we've done a pretty good job in terms of getting guys committed, that we like their game tape. And that's a position to me that's just so cognitive, so much instinctual reaction. I want to see the game tape. And I think that's what TJ had, really good game tape.
Dylan obviously had a big,
With TJ specifically, after his rushing touchdown, one of the first people to celebrate with him was Dylan. Like, how have you seen them continue to build each other up, and TJ, look up to Dylan?
Well, I mean, Dylan's like an older brother in that, he helps him, he talks him through it, he coaches him, but he also holds him accountable. I told TJ the one day, if Dylan's here at 6:30 a.m., you should be here at 6:15. You should have the bagels and the coffee. That's the role of the number 2 quarterback. And I think Dylan's, when you're sitting in that quarterback room, what's expected timing wise is, in terms of the time you spent, is pretty high. There's not a lot of quarterbacks. I don't think. I mean, I'm sure some do as much, but not many do more than what Dylan does. I don't know if anyone. And so I think he's held TJ to that as well, but he's also, pushing him to make those checks that are the second and third level of playing quarterback. You can come out and you can just say, I made the protection, and okay, I know I'm hot off 2 over here, and then if they throw a hot, I'll try to get the ball out or throw the hot, and then you can start to flipper it, and hey, I'm gonna protect myself so that I can get the ball down the field, and then you can start to take the third level. I'm gonna change the protection when I know that they're blitzing one guy, and so I get the back out and man, and that's where Dylan's at, trying to figure out everything, and he's pushing TJ through everything Dylan learned his first year. He's pushing him through it right now. And, I think we're lucky we have Glenn. Glenn is just relentless on fundamentals and little skills and basics and all those things. And so it's one thing to, I have a bunch of friends who are quarterback trainers, and they do an excellent job. When you're the quarterback coach, though, you're also coaching hey, make this check here. And so I think Glenn's a great blend of both the technical quarterback trainer part, but also the X's and O's. And then you got Dana in there too. So I like their relationship. I like, how much Dylan, cares about the guys in his room. And I think that extends all the way down. Eric Crouch was here on some business thing, and he stopped in the building the other day, and, the quarterback room's named after him. So we went over there, and we were showing the guys he was with that room, and we walked right in. The first guy, Jalen Gramstad's in there watching tape on Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon at 3:00 in the afternoon when he could be taking a nap. So I think all the guys in that room take their role very, very, very seriously, and that's a good, healthy environment to be in.
Dylan obviously had a big game on Saturday. What were some of the things that you were happy or impressed with that don't necessarily show up on the stat sheet?
That he didn't turn the ball over. I mean, if we don't turn the ball over, you can look at the last 10 years, 12 years, whatever it's been, of not having the records we want, and you just simply trace it back to the turnover margin and the amount of balls that have been turned over. I mean, for my first year, I think we minus 17 or something horrific like that, to getting to minus 2 last year. But we have to be in the plus to win. And so I think when you're throwing the ball, I know he's he's the 5th rated quarterback in the country in terms of completion percentage at 78%, but he's thrown the most passes of anybody too. And so, I mean, is it 14 or 15 different receivers he completed the ball to this past game? 14. That to me is not hey, we're not coming out and saying hey, we're going to block this up just for this one guy. Hey, throw it to him. We're coming out and we're just operating the offense, and whoever's open gets the football. And so I love the fact that Dylan's protecting the football. He's taking what the defense gives him. He's moving the ball all around the field. And that then makes, as we move on, right? Because right now it's week 1, week 2. You don't look at those in snapshots. As you get to week 6, week 7, week 8, and you're looking back at an offense's body of, their history, their book of business, I look at them, I'm okay, well, who are their gotta-have-it players? It's 4th and 3. Where's the ball going? It's 3rd and 10 at the 10. Where's the ball going? And most teams, it's hey, they're going to try to get the ball to this guy. But with Dane and him, they're gonna go through progressions. They're gonna even the play that went to Dane, that's really a play to the touchdown to Dane. That's really a play to Ja'Cory. It's X and Z races. They race across the formation. It can go to either guy, but really you're thinking Ja'Cory is going to win across the field in man, and then the safety rolled over the top, and Dane just kept running, and that's a ball. You're not going to see many guys. I told you guys I didn't want a ton of wow plays. That's a wow play. That throw was a wow play. And I think you guys understand what I mean. I'm talking about the run around, throw it behind my back, which he can do. And there'll be a time to do it. But I love him just operating in the pocket, sliding around the pocket, and I love the fact he ran the football. Had the spin move down around the goal line. He had, a couple other ones those are things that keep people honest. But just the fact that we're getting the ball to so many different people means as a defense, there's a ton of balance. You're not coming out on your scouting report saying, hey, we got to take away this guy. You know, you can say right now we got to take away Emmett Johnson, you know, because he's obviously, I think he's top, what is he, they give me this stuff, right? Emmett Johnson is 7th nationally in yards from scrimmage, and he played half the game last week. So you could say take him away, but then you take away Isaiah, Dane, Ja'Cory, you know, who do you take away? And then we talk about Ja'Cory as a guy I didn't even think was going to, when I sat here last week, I was like, I don't even know if he'll play. And, you know, he goes out and does what he does. But I think a lot of that's, he's not the first progression on some of those, right? Some of those are, hey, I'm going to throw the ball, Luke's the first progression. They play man, we get backside to Ja'Cory. And so I think those are the things that encourage me, not the score, but just the way that we're executing the things we're supposed to execute.
There were a few packages on Saturday where Dawson Merritt and Cade Petchock were on the field at the same time. You mentioned the recruits. What kind of message does that send to them, and then also the rest of the freshmen who are trying to get on the field?
Yeah, I think the two things, you know, in fact, we had some guys go in the portal last year, you know, kind of like, wow, coach, you know, we rotate a lot. I want to play more snaps. You know, we rotate guys on defense. You know, I'll never forget playing against Georgia when I was at Baylor in the Sugar Bowl and watching like every play they rotated a different guy, and I was like, man, Kirby's brilliant. He's got all these guys like, hey, I'm a starter on dime, I'm a starter on nickel, I'm a starter on quarter. You know, everyone had a role, and so we've tried to add some of that, you know. But yeah, we're going to play the best players, and it's because of the way we practice. You know, a lot of defensive kids go to offensive head coaches, and some might be great, but like I'd go play for Nick Saban, I'd go play for Kirby Smart, I'd go play for defensive guys because they let you practice defense. You get to hit, you get to thud, you get to get off blocks. You're not tagging off the guy all the time. And I don't put myself in those guys' category. They've won national championships, all kinds of things, but I do believe the same thing. And so defensive players for us, I think they get better quickly because we practice in a way on defense that allows you to get better, and we're going to play the best players, and we're going to play a bunch of guys on defense. You know, we're not going to play just two linebackers. You know, and even some of those packages with Dawson. The first week Dawson was in our 4-3 package. He was a starter, and this week we didn't really have that package as much, but we also put him in like the second or third series. Like, you're going to go play. Dawson's an excellent young player, and then Cade. You know, he's kind of, I told you guys, he's trying to, you know, trap behind Will and Cam, who are two of our best players. And so we just slid him over to the other side and said, hey, you're going to have to play inside a little bit more. And Cam went in and played nose. And so I think Terry did a nice job of, hey, we need to get this kid on the field because Cade just plays so hard. He's so physical. And so, you know, so I think those are two things. But for recruits, I mean, I think if you're a defensive guy, we'll develop you. And Sam just brought up, I've started 3 freshman quarterbacks in modern college football. You know, not many people want to do that. You know, we started Ja'Cory last year, V9, and we started. If you're the best player, you're going to play, and the only way to get good at this game is to play it.
You've had back-to-back games where you will have 70 passing yards or less. What's impressed you the most out of your secondary?
Yeah, I mean, we're just sticky. We're not doing it because we have like 12 sacks either, right? I mean, we're doing it because, you know, we're covering really well. I mean, I think Cincinnati's a really good football team. And I think they threw for 300 some yards this past game against Bowling Green. So it wasn't like, you know, they threw for 69 against us. I just think we have excellent players in the secondary. And you know, Malcolm came out of the game. You know, he got a little dinged up. Came out of the game. Jameer went in. He played. Justin Rhett went in the game and played. Rex Guthrie he's coming on every single day. Caleb Benning's coming on every single day. Donnie Jones, like, we had a package for him this week where he was a starter in, and you know, I put him in a black shirt for this week because I think he's ready to go in a lot of different packages. So you know, I think we just have a lot of really good players in the secondary. I think Addison, Snow, DeMichael have done a good job, and I'll just tell you, I was as excited as I've ever been in the fourth quarter, just watching like Sierre, Deshaun, Keese, Marshall, the way they were just like cheering on and getting on the young guys when they got out there to play. And some guys went out there and played really well. You know, Jeremiah Charles gets a chance to play, he can play. You know, Larry Tarver can play. Like, a bunch of these guys are going to be the starters next year when all these seniors graduate. So for them to get reps, I thought was really good. But yeah, we've got a good secondary, and John does a great job in terms of the calls. We're playing a ton of man, you know, we're staying on guys right now and making some contested plays on the ball, which is good. You're getting the guys are making a catch, and we're kind of getting the ball out. So we'll have to just continue that.
Last year, Singleton kind of had to ease into the season, right, because of his injury. This year, Singleton obviously just going full bore in. How much has that affected the secondary?
Yeah, I think they've had he's been able to practice. You know, one of the reasons why he decided to come back was because, you know, look at his history. Like, he's never even truly had like a true off season, right? Being at JC and then been here. So all the things that we want to do in the offseason. I think, when we switched his position and moved him to what we call the rover, we're really playing with a nickel and two safeties, right? So he's playing the field safety. So, he plays man on number 3, and at 6'3", 6'2.5", whatever he is, 210, 50, whatever he is, 15, 10, 8, I don't know. I should know it, but I don't. He's not just a box safety. He's going down and playing man, which to me is like, that's what elevates you from like day 3, day 2 into like early day 2, day 1 in terms of getting drafted by having the ability to play man. Even like he made the pass breakup last week on 3rd down and quarters. They're coning off 2 and 3 and 3 breaks flat. He drives on it, makes a play on the ball. But I think it's a lot of that is just those guys also being together. The communication, our defense is one in which there's a lot of communication required, emotion, things like that. And we weren't great the first game. We were much better the second game. So I think having him has been really vital. And then I think he challenged himself this game. He was significantly better, like getting downhill and striking people this game. Like, I think I told you guys I showed like 10 or 12 plays of Buda Baker, who's one of my favorite players in the National Football League I ever went against when I was there, like just coming downhill and running and striking. And you saw Deshaun and you saw Marquise. I thought they played 2 of their best games in terms of, running angles and coming downhill and trying to take up ground. So I think having like that veteran group back there has been really settling.
He's a big fan and led you guys out on the field last year. Any thoughts on the Bud Crawford fight Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's a theme that we're talking about as a team this whole week. That's one of our themes. I had a chance to go to Bud's send-off, and as I told our team, we hope that we have a great year, and we hope that next year's a great year. We hope that when you look at our sidelines, all these Husker fans, but like Bud's one of the OGs, right? He's one of the original ones, right? Like he came out there for Colorado for us last year, when we hadn't beaten Colorado. So I'm grateful him and who he is, and he's made it, yet he still continues to live in his community and pour into Omaha and pour into the kids in the community. So I think he's a role model for all of us who are blessed to give back. But what I love about Bud is, he's going to go out and fight Saturday night, and he's a first ballot pro boxing Hall of Famer, right? And he's certainly not just doing it for the money, right? And so he's risking his legacy because he wants to go out and he wants to be the first person to be 3 times unified champion. You know what I mean? Like no one's ever done it before. And so what I love about him is he could just sit back and be like, no, I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to fight Canelo. I'm the greatest there ever was. But he's going to risk the chance when you step in the ring. Who knows what? He's going to risk that because he's such a competitor that he can't stand the fact that he has a chance to do something that no one else has done. Because I believe 2 people have done 2 times unified or multiple, like 2 different weight classes, I believe. But no one's done 3. So he has a chance to go. So he's going to go up in weight and challenge himself in weight and be the underdog for the first time ever. But he doesn't care about any of that because he doesn't care what other people say. He's a competitor. He's going to go out there and he expects to win. And so you think about like a message for our guys, yeah. One thing I keep telling them is like, if the pressure, oh my gosh, the pressure to perform feels like too much right now. Just wait. Like the pressure doesn't go away. Like it doesn't go away, and it makes you either fight or flight. And some people would flee. And what I love about Bud Crawford is he just, no pun intended, he fights. He accepts the challenge. He moves forward. He puts his city, his state, his legacy on his back, and he goes out there and he risks it all in the ring because he's the ultimate competitor. And so that's the analogy for our team, for us on this. There was a blood moon last night. So I think that those are pretty cool things. Kind of a red eclipse, and when they say the history, you go back to like Asia and all across the world, and people saw like the blood moons, the red moon, the orange moon. Whether they thought like the wolf was trying to eat the moon or a dragon was trying to eat the moon, it usually means that there's a war coming. It usually means there's some period of war coming, and that's what I think Saturday night for Bud. So we're Team Bud Crawford, and you know what? Canelo's one of the greatest. We respect them, but we are Team Crawford around here. So, but I think it's just a great message for our team, right? Like, don't just sit there and hope that you get accolades. Risk it all. Risk it all to be great. Thanks, guys.